Okay, we're gonna pick up where we left off, the Democrat versus Republican conversation. So the last time we talked, we were talking about how Jill needs to let Joe retire. So finally, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they're like, that's it, bro. Okay, they came to him and they told him, listen, bro, no more money. We're not gonna have any fundraising for you. You're not gonna make any more money from now on if you don't drop out. And that's it. Money, what rules the world in politics. So therefore, Joe said, "That's fine. All right, I'll come down." So Joe came down to the point that Nancy's been doing an interview, and honestly, she wants to be like, "Dude, I'm that powerful." Like she just wants to say that, like, "Yo, I'm that powerful." Yeah, I took him out. I told him, "Hey, this might be your choice, but know that we don't support it." We support you going down. Okay, you need to get out of here immediately. And obviously, the choice would have been Kamala, right? I don't even know who. I don't know who else would you thought. You thought Buttigieg? No way. Who else is? I can't even think of anybody else at this moment because it was so obvious it was going to be Kamala Harris. So Kamala was nominated. So before Kamala was nominated, on the other side, a huge thing has happened. I'm just sitting on my computer and I'm just like, I get a ding, a news saying that Trump has almost been shot. I'm like, what? And then I go to Twitter and I can literally see videos. I'm like, yo, this guy almost been shot. It feels so surreal. You know what I mean? I don't even think people really grasp what just happened, what almost just happened. You know what I'm saying? Imagine if Trump got killed. Okay, but anyway, that happened. Luckily, he just got grazed in the ears, and he goes down, and he gets back up, and he put his fist up. Okay, and everybody was like, "It's over." Even I was like, "It's over, dude. Trump got this." I mean, he's going against Biden in this condition. Like he just came out as a hero. Dude just got shot, almost died, but got his composure and put out a fire photo, basically, right? So when this happened, right, people were asking a lot of questions like, how is this even possible? What is going on with the with security service, right? And the director of security service is like a woman, and as you know, on the right side of the political spectrum, if they see any kind of DE hire, they don't like it in one bit. So she was basically a video came out of her basically saying we need more women in the security department and we need to hire more people. You just don't have enough manpower, specifically more women. And obviously, once you say stuff like that, people would perceive that to say that you don't really care about the quality of the people you're getting. You only necessarily care about the color and the gender of the people you're trying to get, and that's not cool. I don't even agree with that. Like, you shouldn't be quality, always quality for me. Okay, so anyway, so that video came out, and people on the right obviously are out of riot at this point. What? And then another one came out like while Trump was being put in the car trying to get him out of the place, there was a female uh, security who was like bumbling around with her gun, and he just didn't look very professional. And honestly, I'm not gonna make any judges because I don't know what that. I don't even know how you feel in that situation. I mean, this is a historical moment, and I just don't know. You can say that like she should be better than that, but I can't really speak on that, right? But it just didn't look professional though. It didn't look professional, and people just harped onto that. And then another piece was like, how is this guy was able just to climb up there and aim at how wasn't this much perimeter was not ordered, So anyway, so they called her, the director to the hearing to see what ask her questions, and everybody from like all the aisle from AOC to they were all going off on her, okay? And she just could not respond. And they were like, you need to step down. And so one thing she lied about saying that like the perimeter 150, she's like, it was just too far. There's no way. She lied about that. And then there was another story came out to say that like the department, the local department, they call them. They're like, hey, can you give us some snipers to go cover in that place? So there was apparently supposed to be a sniper at that location, but he just didn't show up because everybody's incompetent. That's really what it is. And I actually believe that a lot more likely than anything else, all these other extra stories that someone was supposed to be up there and they just didn't show up and nobody coordinated to make sure somebody showed up. So for that reason, she should be fired. So they were like, do you think you should still have this job after this? And she's like, yeah, I'm the best person for this job. And that just got people upset. And then a few days later, she finally resigned. She was out. So at this point, everybody's kind of feeling for Trump, right? This guy almost died. Just let the hatred we have for him, and it was kind of funny. So Biden was interviewed at this time. Was Biden was still trying to convince people that he's all right. So he goes on an interview, and he's saying that, yeah, I called him. You know what I mean? I made sure he was okay. You know, and which was obviously very nice. The reporter asked him like, hey, should we turn down the heat? You know, we shouldn't be calling him a Nazi. You know, Hitler like. We should be, you know, turn the temperature down, because if you saying this guy is the level of a Nazi, I mean, you expect somebody was gonna kill him, right? So can we not do that? And he's like, yeah, yeah, you know. And he immediately, a few seconds later, just went hop on it, went back and started calling him Hitler again, you know. So this is the mini interview Joe has done in the past week that just didn't go well for him. So anyway, so he had to drop out. So this was his last, and he finally said, you know, I'm gonna drop out. At first, he didn't come out and say Kamala, but as time, a day or two went on, people are like, why is he not just picking Kamala? Why is he not supporting Kamala? Obviously, Kamala is gonna run for it. So Obama came out. Obama was like, yeah, dude, Kamala is about it. And then that's when Biden was finally came out and said, of course, I support Kamala. Okay. So Kamala is basically the nominee at this point. And really, we were thinking at first that are they going to like do a debate in the DNC to see which candidates qualify? But really, if you think about it, it made perfect sense to be Kamala. Like, who else can, there's nobody else. Was it going to be Bernie? Really, the choices were Bernie, Buttigieg, or Kamala. So obviously, out of those three, you have to say Kamala. So Kamala was picked, and it kind of made sense in the big term because, you know, the abortion conversation would be a huge for them. So Kamala is perfect for that. Black woman, think about it. The first black woman. That's like two things. This is their favorite thing. So obviously, whenever they announced that they were going to nominate Kamala for the Democrat candidate, money came in crazy. It was absolutely insane how much money that came in. I think she raised some crazy money, like $100 million in a week or something like that. It was wild. And so the whole conversation kind of shifted into like, oh my, okay. I think now we got the base a little more enthusiasm to actually go out and vote. We're going to vote for the first black women. Our poll literally just skyrocketed. It just went straight up, and we completely forgot about the Trump assassination attempt. Like, we literally just forgot about it. All our attention is like, oh my God, are we going to get the first female black president? Nobody's thinking about her credentials. Nobody cares about our ideas because nobody's interviewing her. She doesn't necessarily has done any interview, and she doesn't really need to do interview at all. Think about it. Why does she need to do interview? Her polls are going up daily. Why would you open your mouth? You're winning. Just shh. So she's using that. So Trump is like, yo, why don't you debate me, man? She needs to debate me. She's like, all right, I'll debate you. Whatever Joe agreed on, we're going to stick with that. And he's like, but you're a new candidate. We need some new rules. She's like I said, I'll give you whatever I can give you. If you don't want it, we ain't getting nothing. From Trump's perspective, any debate is a good debate, right? Because really, you just want to hear, no one's questioning her. Why don't you question her? Now, this is a perfect time to hear what she wants her administration to really be about, right? And so he just accepted it. Like, so there's going to be a debate, but there's going to be like one or two, I believe, before the election. But yeah, she still hasn't done any kind of interview. So days went on, you know, everybody is just happy. Like, the Democrat Party literally went from gloomy, you know, Trump looked like he's about to go, to overnight feeling that, yo, we got this. This is it. It's in the bag. And I have to agree. Right now, if they vote, she's in, right? So now all she has to do is pick a vice president that can push her over the edge, right? So this is where I just it's all emotions. There's no really logic to most of these choices, but this is just about politicians. This is where it shows that the Democrat Party don't really care. At least the Democrat Party right now, they don't really care about fixing problems. It's just like being in office. Like, we just want to be in power. It's just being in power so we can spend a bunch of money. That's really what it is. So going to Kamala, she's trying to basically split herself from Biden, right? As Biden right now, they're like, hey, do you feel it's weird that Kamala, you know, trying to like divert herself from you? And he's like, no, we're one. We're one. We're connected, okay? The last 4 years, me and her were babies, okay? So anyway, so the media is basically protecting her, which is absolutely true. One specific thing is that with the border czar conversation. So Biden himself said she's in charge of the border, and she was in charge of the border, but she's never been. In fact, she was grilled on never being at the border, right? So And obviously, we know about the border situation, and we know about how the border patrol feels specifically. So she wasn't great on that. So when Republicans try to use that against her, so when Republicans try to use against her, now the media and the journalists started saying, hey, I don't even think she was in charge. She wasn't a board. It wasn't her fault." So basically, a lot of bad stuff that happened during the Joe Biden's administration, where she was the vice president, they're basically saying like, well, she wasn't in charge. Have you guys seen the show Veep? She's basically Veep. That's what they're saying. Like she didn't really, she wasn't about that, guys. Come on. So anyway, and the other side is like losing their mind. They just hate the fact that they just won't ask this girl a question. So anyway, so now Kamala just needs to pick a running mate that can just push her over the edge, okay? So Pennsylvania was one place people were looking at. But the problem with Pennsylvania is that the guy there, he's a Jew. And one thing we know about the Democrat Party of 2024, they really are not that about Jews. Even though you may say they have like Chuck Schumer himself knows the Democrats not about Jews. I'm not saying the Democrat Party specifically, a portion of Democrat voters. Because if you think about it, the conflict that's happening, they've been playing both sides. And think about it. So if you play both sides, eventually one side is literally showing you pictures of a baby getting murdered, right? And you're saying it's both sides. So they feel like there is no both sides. You need to pick a side right now, right? So the Muslim community in Michigan specifically told her, if you don't do something about this, we're not going to vote. All right. We're just going to stay in absent. All right. So she kept that in mind. So the fact that these guys are like on her butt. So she's like, I'm sorry, Shapiro. I can't do it, bro. I cannot get you the deal. So she went to Tim Walz. Okay. She went to Minnesota. She went. So anyway, this guy it's fine. I really don't have too much to say. But the big controversy about him is that he's a liar. One thing you don't lie about in America when you're running for office or just in general is lying about your military service, because this really is important. That's not a very light thing to do. You know, some countries have you are mandatory to actually go serve the country, but in America, people choose to go serve the country. So these people are choosing to serve and protect, what we have. These guys go out, risk their lives, and they come back. Some are treated well, some are not treated well, right? So one thing they really have pride on is that the work that they have done, and they hate when people lie about the work. Okay, nothing gets a veteran pissed than lying about your service or your ranking. So this is what Tim lied about. Tim lied about his ranking. Okay, so let this lady explain to you what Tim has done.
A lot of National Guardsmen that I spoke to in Minnesota were upset that Tim Walz, the two-term governor of Minnesota, was chosen as Kamala Harris's VP pick, largely because they said he was a traitor and a coward. He'd been with the National Guard in both Nebraska and Minnesota for about 20 years. In 2005, when his unit was about to deploy for fighting in Iraq, he retired. And this was seen as, a great sort of instance of cowardice on his part. Now, he did retire in order to run for Congress at that time. That's what his excuse was. And he did win his congressional seat after that campaign. But I spoke to a few of his former colleagues in the National Guard who were very upset by that. And the other thing that they were upset by is that he was using in his public relations bio on his website when he was a congressman that he had achieved a particular rank of commanding sergeant major. And in fact, he hadn't achieved that. He was working on it. So he should have retired as a master sergeant. That's what technically he was, and it was a lesser rank than he was promoting for himself. The man who stepped in to fill in for Walz when he decided to retire in 2005 was a man named Tom Behrens, and he's from Minnesota. He's a farmer. And he said he had no ill will at the time towards Walz. At that point, he said to me, I had 500 troops. I had to reassure them we were about to go to war, and I didn't even have time to be upset. But afterwards, when he saw Waltz promoting himself, as having achieved this rank that he hadn't achieved, that's when he started to get angry. And that's when he started writing letters. And he wrote letters to Waltz while he was a congressman. He said they were never answered. And finally, he went public. In 2018, when Waltz ran for governor of Minnesota, Tom Behrens wrote an open letter with another colleague saying that, he was, not that he lied about his military service, but he wasn't being forthcoming, and that he had left before he ever saw combat. So one thing about Tim Waltz was that he had this long storied career in the National Guard, but he'd never been in a combat situation. He'd been to the Arctic Circle. He'd helped during natural disasters in the Midwest. He'd been up to Norway and to Italy, but he hadn't seen actual combat.
All right, you hear that? He actually never seen combat, okay? So I'm going to also let you listen to him saying he went to combat and he was carrying a weapon. Okay, this is him.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and Dad said, "Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at."
Okay, that's a lie, right? The weapon that I carried a war will stay there. What war? What weapon did he carry? So obviously a lot of people are very harped on that, and the way he's dodging the question, the way he's dodging the whole claim, the media is dodging as well. When I say the media, there's two medias. There's the right side of the media, but the left side of the media. So let's just think about the left side of the media. Obviously they're doing everything they can to be like, nah, dude, if you serve it, you serve it. You get the same respect. But obviously that's not true. So people who work with them personally, who do you take serious? Do you take serious these media people and their opinions, or the people who work with him? I would believe those people. And they're all telling you, this dude did serve, and we all obviously thank him for his service, right? It doesn't matter if you're reserved or a national, whatever, as long as you're serving the country, thank you, sir. But you shouldn't lie. You shouldn't lie about your ranking to get even better favors. And that's what everybody's upset about. So J.D. Vance went to the Iraq war, right? Literally, there's a whole book, the Hillbilly Elegy, whatever. So he went to Iraq and he served there. He had the hell guns. He was literally in a combat. Now, to see how serious, was he in the front line? Was he just getting reports? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He has a gun. Like, he's in a war zone. Like, he could easily kill somebody. And that's the difference here. Would this hurt her in the next few months? Only time will tell. Anyway, that's it.